Broncos country, are you ready to ride for training camp 2024? That's what I'm talking about. Welcome to David Talks Broncos official Denver Broncos training camp position battles preview. Decided to go live. Got one of those ADHD bursts of energy. I could work all throughout the night. That's how I feel right now. As you can see, I got this in the mail a little while back. I'm going to be wearing this when we get a handful of victories this year. I think that's how it's going to go. But man, a lot to be excited about with the training camp battles, position battles that we have going on. Of course, if you're watching, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. And here in a moment, going to go through the projected depth chart and talk about who I think is going to win these position battles, who might be on the roster bubble, who do I want to see cut if we got to make some tough decisions. Of course, y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments, but hopefully you like that foam hat. Shout out to Shannon Sharp. I did not have him on my personal top 5 favorite Broncos of all time. I hope you guys will forgive me for that. But let's go ahead and get into it. Thank you, our lads, for putting this together. Guys, this is an informal depth chart. The official one for the Broncos has not come out yet. Hopefully I'm not blowing out the mic. But let's go ahead and take a look at this, shall we? I'm going to move myself down a little bit and get this marker working. But let's start with the obvious, Courtland Sutton. Or, yeah, we can start with Courtland Sutton. Right now, very interesting. He has no reports right now of him holding out, which is very interesting. It's going to be at camp. We'll have to see if that stays the case. But he had a very good year for us last year, and I see him being a starting wide receiver for this team as long as he's here. 777 yards, as you can see, 10 touchdowns, and I think he's going to help Bo Nix look much better. Now, if we want to get to the rest of the receiving room on here, there are guys, I think every single spot here is open when it comes to the other 2 starting wide receivers as well as the backup roles. I think right now, because we are paying Josh Reynolds more than anybody on the team outside of Courtland Sutton at the position, I think you're going to see him be a starting wide receiver in that top 3. I do agree with them having Marvin Mims over here as well. I think that Marvin Mims will outsnap Josh Reynolds throughout the year. That's kind of how I see the targets and snaps being split up. But this is where things get interesting. That 4, 5, 6. Do I see us keeping 7 wide receivers on the active roster? I don't think so. I think you're going to be able to hide guys away on the practice squad like we saw last year and call them up if needed. Will Jordan Humphrey, Jalen Virgil, Brandon Johnson. If we do have a 7th wide receiver, probably will go with Brandon Johnson out of that bunch. Then Lil Jordan Humphrey. I guess we just need to see what happens with Jalen Virgil, right? But I kind of see the top 6 here as our lads has it, with Devon Vele and Troy Franklin and Tim Patrick being those initial reserve wide receivers. Now, if Tim Patrick, for some reason, comes back in training camp and isn't looking himself, I think you can cut him if you'd like. Again, he's going to have a high cap number regardless because of his restructure or rather pay cut. I think he's on the cap for around $7 million, but is on a veteran minimum salary. So we could cut him if we just want to go ahead and make sure we're elevating somebody like Brandon Johnson to the active roster. I see Troy Franklin starting, entering training camp probably as that wide receiver number 5, then with Devon Vele there. But I think easily Troy Franklin, with his chemistry he has with Bo Nix, could find himself in that top 4 very quickly. And who knows, maybe surprise some of us, including myself, and maybe overtaking somebody like Josh Reynolds or making Courtland Sutton expendable, much like Marcus Colston did Dante Stallworth his rookie year, which was kind of interesting. So that's kind of how I see the wide receiver position shaking out. The top 6 they have on here are the top 6 that I'm going with. Now, let's go ahead and move on to, I don't know if I want to talk about offensive line. Let's get to the quarterback stuff already. Right now that we have, of course, Jarrett Stidham on the roster, Zach Wilson. Ideally, I'd like to keep all 3 of these quarterbacks on the active roster. The more I think about it, though, I feel like you probably could get away with cutting Zach Wilson and having him on the practice squad. I just don't really see many teams being willing to pick him up as an active roster quarterback, as most teams now only keep 2 quarterbacks on the active roster. So we'll just have to see. Jarrett Stidham, I think, should start out getting the most team 1 reps. This should be a battle right now between Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix. I don't want to see us splitting first team reps at all between 3 quarterbacks in fall camp at all. I want to see Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix at most being the guys to split those snaps. And ideally, how I'd like to see this happen is probably split a little while until Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix have their opportunity to play in that first preseason game. I think Bo Nix then kind of transitioning over to the number 2 quarterback or the number 1 quarterback before the second week of preseason is, I think, a good path for things. I want to see Bo Nix playing week 1. Am I going to freak out if that's not the case and we're going to see 5 games of Jarrett Stidham? I'm not going to be panicking. But again, I'll go back to what I've said for months. You're not drafting Bo Nix to sit on the bench when he's had 61 college starts. You should be absolutely ready to move on to the next level. That's my hope, is that Bo Nix is who I think he is. I think he's a week 1 starting quarterback, and I would like to see him take that over at some point in training camp or preseason. What I don't want to see is going into the 3rd week of the preseason, we're doing what we did with, Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian and always failing to name a starter until week 1. Maybe did we do that with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock? I'm pretty sure we did that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that battle went all throughout preseason, and I don't think we knew who was starting until maybe 2 days before week 1 started. Yeah, crazy stuff. So that's how I want to see the position battle going on between the quarterbacks, but I do see Jarrett Stidham being that initial guy to lead out the ones in training camp, and that's how I feel like it should go. Now, if we're going to go ahead and just give him the reins, I'm totally cool with that, but I like the idea of making Bo Nix earn it at least a little bit. Now, what you guys are all probably waiting for is to talk about, and first I'll pause and say hi to people in the chat. Thanks so much. Douglas Wall saying, "What's up, Dave? Love your film room videos." Thank you so much. I have a ton of fun doing them, still learning a lot about football, the X's and O's, and also just learning how to be better at this. So appreciate your support and encouragement. Hopefully you've learned something from it, as I learn a lot from you guys in the comments. And Bill Bell L saying Forsyth or Wattenberg. Let's just go ahead and get to that before we jump to the running back position. I love this. I would like to see Forsyth win this position battle. That's that's what I want. There are a couple reasons why. One, because he already has built-in rapport with Bo Nix, having been his center at Oregon a couple of years ago, knows him well. You got to imagine, I don't know who necessarily is going to be responsible for setting protections. Maybe you guys can speak to this at an NFL level of, will Bo Nix set them some of the time? Will Forsyth be doing that? But anyways, what I'm getting at is that because they have both played at Oregon, I think that they kind of understand how each other thinks, looks at things, reads things, and then how they also move. I think all that stuff is really important. They already have a built-in base of verbal and nonverbal communication, having been teammates that played together. I would like to see him get that starting role. However, if Luke Wattenberg just shows it, I'll put it this way. If it's a tie between abilities, I'm going to go with the guy that I feel like has the better connection with the quarterback, and probably, I don't know, if they're both smart, yeah, and there's not really a difference in how they're reading the game and all of that, you go with Ty goes to Forsyth because he already has that chemistry with Bo Nix. But if Wattenberg is just truly the better talent, you have to go with him, regardless of developing a rapport. Usually you don't want to have a rookie quarterback and a first-time starting center. That's why, I mean, we're going to have it either way. That's why I'd rather go with Forsyth. But if he's just clearly the stronger, more effective blocker in both the run game and the pass game, that, like, you just got to go with him regardless. Okay. Oh, Douglas, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I think that this is my first super chat I've ever gotten on my Broncos channel. Highly appreciate it. We got great things coming, and I need to get back to Altitude Radio. There was a show over there that wants to have me on. I think that's going to be fun coming on that station soon. So thank you for your support. I do this because it's a lot of fun to talk with other Broncos fans. Highly appreciate it. Thank you. And if you got any questions, I can answer them at the end as well, because you just sent me $10. Now, that's how I feel about the center positions, or the center position. Now, let's talk about the running backs. This is very interesting. You guys in the comments on my video the other day were saying, man, keep Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams. Keep them both. And ideally, that's how I would like it too. Now, one thing that I'm trying to think about is, okay, if we could keep 5 running backs on the team, but only 2 quarterbacks on the active roster, which would I prefer? I'm not totally sure yet. I need to think through that a little bit more. But I think all these backs are talented. I think I'll kind of double down on my take yesterday or 2 days ago with Javonte Williams. If he does look like he's getting back to form, even somewhat, I would like to keep him, being the younger back, being somebody that I feel like is a really tough runner, and also because you can get back more cap space cutting Samaje Perine if you have to cut one. Now, yeah, it's tough because Perine was way more effective. Like I said, his yards per carry were like 4.5. Javonte Williams was around a 3.4, I believe. And then yards per reception, I think Javonte Williams was around 4 yards or so, while Samaje Perine was at a little over 9 yards. And that's what I'm talking about. Samaje Perine looked like the more explosive back out of the two this past season. And if that's the case, I think you got to let go of Javonte. But as I was saying, if they look around the same athletically, I'd rather make the move that makes most financial sense, so to speak. Now, I would like to see Jaleel McLaughlin in on the active roster alongside Audric Estime. And this is where things get a little tricky, is that I want Blake Watson on the active roster. You don't pay him $250, or I think now I saw a tweet, it might have been Troy Rank or Mike Kliss, was saying that he got $275,000 guaranteed. That should be more than the guarantees on Audric Estime's rookie deal, or at least a signing bonus. It's interesting, right? If I had to pick 4, I'm going with the youth. I'm going with Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, Blake Watson, and then if I'm going by what I saw last year, I'm keeping Samaje Perine, but that's because there was a drastic difference in how those two backs looked on the field. Don't get me wrong, though. I'm rooting for Javonte. I still feel like his ceiling, once recovered, is higher than Samaje Perine. Big question mark coming into camp is, will he look recovered? We'll just have to see. And that's very true, Douglas. Javonte, he did not go out and impress at OTAs, that's for sure. Certain Broncos media were a little bit more, in my opinion, avoiding the issue of talking about him, but I did appreciate that uh, Cecil Lammey and Andrew Mason, those were two guys that were like, nah, like I'm not excited about this. And yeah, it's because I still don't feel like it was a bad draft pick, by the way. Like I loved when George Payton made that move. And I thought he was one of the top running backs in that class. I think he was mainly ranked third behind those guys, but I think you could argue now he's definitely at least a top two talent in that class, in my opinion. However, you just can't predict injuries. It's one thing if Javonte Williams was a guy who didn't produce because he acted like Paxton Lynch. No, he just got hurt. I think we all love Javonte Williams and how he plays. We just need to see him returning to form. So that's the offense that I got in terms of the big position battles. I feel like I covered that. Now, I guess when you're looking at the swing tackle, that's another position to look at on the offensive line. You have, I guess, Alex Pacheski along with Matt Pert over here and Frank Crum, along with Quinn Bailey, but I'm not really sure what to think of Quinn Bailey. How many of these guys will stay on the active roster? My hope is that one of these young guys that we've been investing in, that we've spent some time with, probably not Frank Crum this early on, but Alex Palczewski, I'm going to be concerned if he doesn't beat out Matt Pert for that swing tackle position. I think he should be able to do that. I don't think Matt Pert is good at all. And if he truly is going to be that guy that's our swing tackle this year, Matt Pert, that is, I have concerns that none of these guys are developing the way that we want, which with Zach Strief as position coach, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be able to develop these guys. Sam Mustipher, let's talk about him. I did a couple of film rooms on him recently. I think that he's purely developmental. I don't really see him primarily as a center at the college level or at the NFL level. One, because they talked about him, the Broncos brass, that is, about playing guard. And I think he was playing guard at South Carolina until they moved him over to center. And I feel like that might have just had to be by necessity. So I like him more. I think like Luke Wattenberg, he will be able to play both positions, but I just see his future maybe being somebody here in a couple years that could replace Ben Powers when most of the guarantees are up with his deal, if we need to go that route. That's kind of how I see Sam Mustipher. I don't see him adding to this three-headed monster at center. I see, or not Sam Mustipher, sorry. I meant to be talking about Nick Gargiulo this whole time. Late night brain, guys. Hopefully one of you guys caught that in the comments. But yeah, I'm talking about Nick Gargiulo. Sam Mustipher, I think that he is just insurance if needed. I think that he's a fine center. He's competent, but I don't. My hope is that these two are ahead of him. If not, I'm going to be a little upset, given that they have been on the team for 2-3 years. And I think Sam Mustipher is just an insurance policy if you don't like what we got with Nick Gargiulo. And could I see him still making the roster over somebody like Calvin Throckmorton? Yes, I think he's a better player right now than Calvin Throckmorton. So we'll just have to see there. Sorry about getting confused, guys, but hopefully you'll forgive me being this late. I guess that covers the offense. Now, defense. This one is very, very interesting. Notice they do not have, I always mispronounce his first name, but I just call him a Wazarike. They don't have a Wazarike on this depth chart here on the defensive line. My hope is that he is reinstated. I haven't seen any updates with this, but I think that he's somebody that comes back, and he, in my opinion, he's an upgrade over somebody such as Angelo Blackson. I think that he is, and might, I don't know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Matt Henningsen. I think he could have a better season than Matt Henningsen. Versatile player, but anyways, I would love to see him on the team, on the active roster, given the fact I think we used wasn't it an early day 3 pick on him? Yeah, you want to see him take that next step, especially with a year off to hopefully really train and improve himself. Now, Malcolm Roche, I could even see potentially as a starter with the way that he has produced in limited snaps, limited playing time. But I think, I guess you can't put him at nose tackle. Let's go ahead and look at some of his snaps. He'd probably be a little small if I remember correctly, but I know that we would like to have an upgrade at nose. Yeah, you can't, unless he's like Aaron Donald. You can't have like a 290-pound nose tackle, ideally. Okay, yeah. So as you see right here, y'all, he played about 15% of his snaps or so. Being responsible for the A gap, so probably playing more of that nose position, and then probably mainly playing a 3 tech, or one of those bigger defensive end positions that we have in this 3-4 defense. I guess he can do it, but ideally, you would like to see him improve this year to where, he's even taking over a starting role from maybe somebody like Zach Allen. But I think Zach Allen was one of our better players on the defense last year. So Malcolm Roach is somebody that I definitely have my eye on. I'm excited to see if he can work himself into the starting lineup at some point. But yeah, nose tackle position battle. Very interested to see how this goes, especially because I think Angelo Blackson is a fine depth signing, but it's not anything that you're going to be feeling great about as your backup, in my opinion, being kind of a veteran minimum type of contract. That's just how it is. Now, let's get to the linebackers. Wow, this is where things get interesting. Let's talk about the interior linebacker positions. Josie Jewell is now gone, in case you guys need a reminder. So we got a handful of guys competing for first team snaps. Forgive my chicken scratch handwriting there, but right now, our lads has Cody Barton as well as Alex Singleton slated as those starting linebackers. I think that that's probably the case. Now, Jonas Griffith is somebody that I think has flashed, but good Lord, can we get at least one healthy season out of this gentleman? I'm hoping that we can. That is absolutely my hope, because I think that he is substantially a more effective talent than both Justin Sternad and Andre Smith. Now, Andre Smith, I've even done a video on him, how I felt like he was pretty productive in his limited snaps in his playing time as well. But I just feel like Jonas Griffith is a great athlete. I think he's an above average athlete in the NFL. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy. So that's what I would like to see. Drew Sanders, I imagine he'll be put on injured reserve at some point, but you don't want to see him rush a recovery. Don't pull Cam Akers. No need. Take all the time you need, because with you being a little undersized and with the rumors about you moving over to edge, being an undersized edge, you need to be as twitchy and explosive as you can. I don't want the Broncos encouraging him to come back early. We saw how not taking that approach with Devontae Williams, it might alter his career moving forward, which is really sad. Well, let's talk about who are our starting outside edges. Jonathan Cooper, right now, I feel like is our best all around edge. I would agree and put Baron Browning there in the starting lineup as well. But a position battle to watch here is with these edges. How does Nick Bonito look? Has he taken another step? Is he somebody that can provide competent support in the run game this year? If he can, then I think you see him jump Baron Browning. Baron Browning, though, is in a contract year. A lot of money's on the line. My hope is that we get the best out of him. But the X factor, our third-round draft pick, Jonah Ellis. This is a guy with a handful of pass rush moves. And I think that he's a guy that, while he's not like Von Miller, going to come in here and just be that alpha immediately, so to speak, he's somebody that I think has the potential and has the ceiling to become that. Somebody that's a true three-down edge, a pass rush threat, and somebody you won't target running at. And that's why, I'd like to see another little step from Jonathan Cooper, because if he can, take his all-around game to the next level, I think he is, again, one of those starting caliber edges for a long time. Outside of that, I have no idea what to expect from guys like Dondre Tillman. I mean, he's somebody that I would love to see make the roster. Again, we signed him to a 3-year deal with minimal guarantees, which is very interesting. But I mean, he was the Myles Garrett of the UFL this year. Come on, guys. So it would not surprise me if he earns that fifth edge spot. I would really love that. And I think he can play a little bit inside as well in the 3-4 defensive end. So versatile player. I'm not sure where he compares size-wise to guys like Ronnie Perkins or Dizelle Nchami. I don't even know who he is. So, Thomas Nkoum, we'll just have to see. But Dondre Tillman's a guy to keep your eye on when it comes to making his way up the depth chart week by week. I want to see that. Very weird that we gave him a 3-year deal. Yeah, interesting. Now, shall we talk about the cornerbacks? Guys, we got a problem if Levi Wallace is our starting cornerback opposite of Pat Surtain. I do like the fact that they have Jaquan McMillan in here as like a starting nickelback, but hey, I'm not going to put it past him to start playing more in the boundary as well. That's how we saw Chris Harris come about his career, starting in the slot and then moving outside. I don't want to discount Jaquan McMillan at all on being that number 2 corner, so to speak. Now, when it comes to some of the other guys that we got right now, Riley Moss, Damari Mathis, Chris Abrams-Drain. You're hoping that Damari Mathis really turns the corner this year. I think he's somebody that I'm definitely more so giving up on at this point, but you want to see how he looks. But I think that Riley Moss is somebody that I do have much higher expectations for. I do think Damari Mathis could still make this roster, but Riley Moss will be on the roster. I'm going to have major concern if he's not part of that starting corner group this year. That's how I feel about it. I feel like similarly to Jarrett Stidham, Bo Nix should defeat Jarrett Stidham in this camp battle, fair and square. That's how Riley Moss needs to be looking at this position battle with Levi Wallace. This is not prime Patrick Peterson we brought in to come opposite of Pat Surtain and push Riley Moss. No, this is like retaining Jarrett Stidham to come in there and start as your starting quarterback with all these camps and practices, but to eventually be somebody that we rely on in a backup capacity. That's what I want to see. Chris Abrams drain expectations for this year. I think he will be a reserve for us. He will probably see significant amount of snaps. I feel like we're always rotating through corners and sadly dealing with injuries. But I would love to see Chris Abrams drain get on the field more than Riley Moss did last year, right? But right now, my expectations for him as a fifth round rookie are pretty minimal, but I am very bullish on him long term. And I guess we could talk about the safeties. I really do see PJ Locke and Brandon Jones as our starting safeties. Things get pretty interesting as we do have two guys on PUP. Caden Stearns and Delarian Turner Yell. I think you got a ton of guys here. These six names: Caden Stearns, Delarian Turner Yell, J.L. Skinner, Devon Key, Omar Brown, and Keydron Smith. I don't know much about Smith or Key, but I do know a fair amount about the other guys. I think that these backup roles are totally up in the air. I love Caden Stearns. The man just can't stay healthy. Hopefully he can come back and look just as athletic and explosive as ever. But again, I think it was a torn Achilles? You just don't know. Yeah, I think any of these guys' jobs, they're up in the air. I have no idea who's going to be the backups. I'd go with Caden Stearns being as that third safety. But again, a lot of that right now is just based on hope in the limited amount of playing time we've seen Caden Stearns play. We'll see what happens with punter. Don't really think Trenton Gill is going to take Riley Dixon's job, but we'll have to see. And Will Lutz, I guess he beat out that kicker we had in here in camp, mini camp from Oregon. So we'll just have to see. Ioma Awazarike, still suspended. There he is. X Factor. I think he still could become our starting nose tackle eventually, which would be awesome. So thanks, guys, for sticking with me on here. I'll get to a few more of your comments. Hey, what's up, Big E Bronco? Hope you're doing well. What position battles are you looking forward to? Douglas Wall, are you going to the open training camp? I am. Me and Jeremy, who has been on the show before with Marky Sports, he and I are going on August 1st. So I'm very excited. If you're able to make it out there on August 1st, or if anybody else is able to, come say hi. We'd love to meet y'all. And yes, Griffith, we got new trainers. We were one of the healthiest, if not the healthiest team last year, which was fantastic. That was not the case in so many years before that. Yes, my hope is that Jonas Griffith can have that healthy season that we've all been waiting for. Didn't we give up like a 6th-round pick for him? We got to see him on the field more. I thought he was already back off the suspension. Awazarike. Let's see. I don't think so, though. Let me type this in here on Google News and see what's up. That's May. Yeah, I don't think there's been any update right now because when I go to Google News, it's stuff from like May 23rd, May 2nd, April. Oh, no. Criminal probe. What? Oh, no. Oh, you guys are getting a live reaction to this. Oh, no. Oh, this is BS. Dude, come on. As Broncos defensive lineman Ioma Awazarike moves towards potential reinstatement following a gambling suspension, one specific development could slow things down via Mike Kliss of 9news.com. An investigation by the Colorado Department of Revenue and Arapahoe County prosecutors could result in criminal charges. Oh, no. Per Kliss, the NFL is waiting for the process to conclude before determining whether to reinstate Awazarike. He is eligible to apply for reinstatement on this Thursday, July 24th. So hopefully we get a ruling on this. Awazarike is accused of placing 32 bets on 5 Broncos games, including one in which he played. That was his rookie year in 2022. No, come on. Come on now. I'm calling on our local government to drop this case. We want to see our Broncos good, right? Oh, I wasn't even sharing the right screen. Sorry, y'all. But anyways, that's a bummer. Hopefully we get him because that's like a free agent signing, in my opinion, because we didn't have him last year. So I'm on team free Awazarike. He paid his price. Okay, he didn't get to play last year and was memed. And yeah, train camp's going to be really cool. I went to a practice last year. It did not look great with Russ. And I remember I was sitting there with my friend John, and I was like, man, it's hard for me to see this team winning more than like 6 games this year. And we won 8, which was awesome. So maybe that's why I probably have maybe a more excited outlook than some people on Broncos in Broncos country this year going into the season. I thought we exceeded expectations last year. I think Sean Payton's got this team in the right direction. That's how I feel about it. Yeah, stick a fork in him. He's done, especially if he's found guilty. Yes, and I'm guessing they would be able to get off of his guarantees as well if there are criminal convictions like that. Usually there's stuff giving outs to the team, as we saw with, maybe it depends on the severity. It's one thing gambling, it's another thing with like pulling a Henry Ruggs. So, yeah, not totally sure. But yeah, I'm excited to go to practice, see how Bo Nix looks live, see how he's interacting with with all the teammates, how he's communicating. You want to see what I like about Bo Nix is that he's very vocal. He's very communicative. We haven't, I guess Russ was kind of that way, but it was just a lot of rah rah. Yeah, maybe Teddy was probably the last guy that was somewhat like that, but I think Bo Nix is a little bit more expressive. Yeah, and I don't know. Drew Lock and Russell Wilson were kind of that same way, in my opinion, right? Kind of more rah rah guys. And what I would like to envision is that with Bo Nix, he's going to show some shades of the Peyton Manning, Drew Brees style of being that quarterback captain of the team. Yeah, we'll just have to see, but yeah, I'm so ready for football to start. I know I keep talking about this. I need to get this Troy Franklin and Bo Nix film room, because if I'm going to do one on Troy Franklin, it involves a lot of Bo Nix too. So I'll have that coming for you guys maybe tomorrow. As you guys can tell, I kind of just do stuff when I feel like it. So, but more live streams are going to be coming now that the season is here. So, yeah, you guys get ready for lots of interaction. It's going to be a handful of a lot of fun. I did this last year for my Buffs channel. Now I got the Broncos one going, which should be a lot of fun. So we'll be doing the post games, the reactions, and I just look forward to riding this emotional wave of being a Broncos fan with you guys this year. That's what's going to make it all really fun. The highs, the lows, the successes, hopefully more successes than failures. But Douglas, really appreciate the support. Really does mean a lot. I do this because it's fun, But the super chats also really make my day. Thank you. So I guess I should get to sleep, get ready for work. Yes, Bonek's got that dog in him. And no, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Hopefully I'll be wearing a lot of this, after games this year and we get a lot of wins. That's what I'm hoping for. So I'll be back tomorrow. If you guys are interested, I am doing a podcast with Adam Munster Tiger of 24/7 The Buff Stampede tomorrow at 12:30 on my Buffs channel. Links in the description to that channel if you guys want to check it out. But I think this will be our third podcast together, so it should be a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. And as always, y'all, go Broncos.